Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and those that know better, and welcome back to the tracc.eu GT3 Cup. This time in the glorious Italian hills of Misano World Circuit, known as Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. My name is Dirty Kohai. I'm joined by Jordan Brunch as our co-commentator today, and Psycho Kaiser in our production booth working his magic with the cameras, hoping to bring you the best of what Misano and our GT3 races can offer.
Misano is one of the tracks of all time, huh?
Um, it's weird. I admittedly had not been exposed to Misano much myself before joining tracc.eu, but it's certainly a track that offers quite a few interesting challenges. Although a bit of a sore memory for the pair of us, I do think, in time has gone by.
Ah, last year was a fun time, but like you said, yeah, we have passed here, but well, I probably
Oh,
have a
yeah,
bit more experience here than you, but let's say
yeah.
whenever I race here, well, I actively seek other Italian tracks. How about that?
Ah, again. There's always going to be different strokes for different folks, and hopefully our history doesn't come back to haunt any of our competitors today. But for the time being, whilst the practice server finishes and we swap over to qualifying, we shall quickly go over our table. So we're starting off with our AM table here. So leading the table in AM for the time being from Motorsport is Agoston Batter, the number 69 with forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, with a 69-point lead, followed closely by Gary Slater from Grip Runners Racing with 60 points. 9-point margin can be considered quite a gap initially, but there's still plenty of rounds left in the championship for things to change. Followed closely behind is Zaid Sadi, Tim Berggren, Patera Daniel Hasri from Technoburst Grip Runners. Apologies for any of our non-English competitors, so I do make a mess of your names. I'm a bit of a klutz. P6 we have tied, well, P5, P6 tied with Patera from Technoburst Grip Runners. We have Gedimius Zlatkus. I do apologise again for the poor pronunciation of your name. P7 with 30 points is Adrian Dubrovka from Grip Runners. Eric Hutter, P8. Kun El Sedator for Mantai Racing Bagu and Aweru Bagu, respectively. And rounding out the top 10 is our very own tracc.eu staff member, Ivano Ikim Ali Baran Shensai. Although, tied for 10th, as I just noticed, is Jan Paul from Mantai Racing Bagu. 12th, we have Zul Akihara. 13th is Nabil Narsan, both from Technoburst Racing, although other outfits with the wider Technoburst brand. Peter Tong in 14th, tied with Nabil. Amethyst of YouTube, who I believe might be absent today, I'm not 100% sure. And rounding out the Anfield is Lorenzo. I apologise for the sake of our sanity, I'm not going to attempt your surname, I'd only do it a disservice. From LEF Auto Racing and G Fox Foxington rounding out the Anfield from Aweru Bagu Racing. Now onto our pro, if you may.
Well, we have the one and only, some may say a mystical individual, Mr. Mike Dieringer, in the lead with 56 points. We have Ace of the Empire, who is sadly going to be absent due to internet issues for the Queen's Design team in P2. We have Albert George, you could call him a veteran of the sport, a veteran of tracc.eu, definitely. Albert George driving for the Queen's Design Panel Formula team. He'll be hoping to do well. And we have a fellow Irish competitor like Ace of the Empire, Tina Curtis, with 38 points in 4th. We have in 5th, we have Alvaro Vincente with 36 points for In the Wall Racing. And just give us a little second. The cameras want a little blurry. But we have in 6th with 35 points, Marcel Schutz with Evis Motorsport with 35 points. Then we have in 7th with 34 points, Wang Lin for In the Wall Sim Racing as well. partners with Alvaro Vincente. And 8th we have Omet Ohm, who's a brand new driver to the series. Only debuted a few rounds ago with the Technoburst Group Runners team, a joint effort with Technoburst and Group Runners. Be good to see how she does on track. 9th is Sion KP, who has been recently promoted from the M class with 30 points. The South Korean driver will be hoping to do well in the debuting Ferrari 296. Alvin Wong will be your 10th driver, well, in P10, running at the top 10. 26 points for Dynamic Esports Academy. So we just rattle off the West 10 drivers. Alvin, now we have in the field Paul in 11th. 12th has Isaac Umbris. 13th has Biggie Hugs. 14th is Scott Brewer. 15th is the one and only Julian Strasser, leader of tracc.eu. 16th is Ryoma Kirihara. 17th is Mort Hiccup. 18th is yours truly, Jordan Brunch, with 7 points. 19th is Paige Azuri. 20th with -1 point. That's the first time I've seen minus points, but April Carsult. And 21st is Nathan Henderson with -5 points. Their team name is very interesting there.
Indeed, but hopefully not the reason for their negative points at the time being. However, for our team's championship, we have Grip Runners leading the way with 90 points of Slater and Dubrovka respectively. Evis Motorsport in second of 87, a 3-point gap. Not very big considering there's a couple rounds left after today as well, so a chance there for the tables to turn. Then we go over to In the Wall Sim Racing in third with 70 points from Vincente and Wan Shi Lin respectively. Technoburst Grip Runners, Amet Ohm and Batera respectively with 63. Fifth is Technoburst Racing 02. Sean KP and Zul Akihara. Sixth with 49 points is Mantai Racing Bago Jan Pol and Eric Hutter. Seventh we have Queen's Design Pan Formula 40 points with Albert George and Abel Carlsvard. Technoburst Racing, for the sake of it, Prime, whether that's accurate or not, please forgive me. 37 points of Isaac Umbris and Nabil Nazran. And rounding out our team's championship is Aweru Baggy Racing of G Fox Foxington and Kun Elucidor. Right, so apologies for all the tongue twisters there, ladies and gentlemen, but we are now into our qualifying session and just waiting to see if any of our drivers have posted their first times. Not the longest circuit around here. I believe roughly, 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 40 lap times, if I am mistaken. Just waiting to see if we can quickly get up some time references here. So yes, Albert Vincente currently the first post time of 134.040 for the time being. Not much of a gap between them and Wan Shi Lin, both in the Porsche 911 GT3R respectively. And Wan Shi Lin, very known tracc.eu as well as other sim racing escapades in ACC and iRacing, to the best of my knowledge. A very competent individual, although perhaps going wide there. Maybe some team shenanigans. So I would not have thought in GT3s that the slipstream would give you much of a benefit around here.
Yeah,
but again,
Misano is a very technical track, but there's only really 3 straights. One's got a bit of a curve in it, but I'd say well, it's I'm trying to describe this track in a positive light, but I'm not the biggest fans of
it's
the biggest fan of it.
Surprising amount of technical makeup around in this track. So as we ride on board here with Zul Akihara. Oh, that switched over to Ali. Oh, as I can, I can't decide whether he wants to watch on top of Zul Akihara or another series veteran and member of the tracc.eu staff, Alex Curto, who puts himself sneakily up in. Yeah, former champion as well. That I didn't know. Yes, riding on board. Oh, as Sean KP decides to give up on that lap. But the times are tumbling quickly, but there's a very slim gap between a lot of competitors already in the early part of qualifying. 33.960 from Sean KP, 0.05 of a second clear of Vincente and Curto. So it's going to be quite tight at the top, I think. potentially seeing all of the top 10 not separated by not very much, but at the minute it's just the top 4. Although, from our producer just told us, an improvement from Kurto. So, quite tight in the top 4, maybe, and things starting to spread out a little bit more as we ride on board in the Aston Martin of Wild Things Racing, driven by the Alex Kurto, into turn 4 and... Okay, correction, my apologies, I forgot what part of the track we were. Through the hairpin of Caro, the left-hander, turn 15, and through the Misano named final corner onto the start-finish straight, and what will that gain for Alex Kurto as he crosses the line? First with a 33.692. Quite an improvement there of roughly 2.5 tenths versus the nearest competitor. But 11 minutes in, although the track is very busy today, as it appears, it's still a chance for people to have find a little bit of time here and there. A very good lap from Alex Kurto. To switch to the Technoburst USA Mercedes AMG GT3 of Isaac Umbrus here. Currently sat in P5 with nearly 7 tenths off the leader, but not a bad drive by any stretch. Isaac just trying to get that very big, wide Mercedes around the corner, through that turn 14 hairpin, I believe. Nope, I am mistaken. I am losing track of where we are on the circuit. I was wrong. That was turn 10. Through the little kink of turn 11. Turn 12, 13, a very tricky braking point into decreasing radius, very tight technical section. Now he's going through the hairpin of turn 14. Through the little left-hander of 15 towards the final corner. A little bit of traffic ahead, so hopefully this is his timed lap and not an outlap. And what improvement will that give Isaac in that AMG Mercedes? Still P5, although it doesn't seem to have changed much on the timing screen per se.
I just noticed
Do you know?
something. If we look at P3 and 4, I'm not sure if our producer or Kawhi has clocked this, but looking at P3 and 4, I'm pretty sure that's the old 911. I'm pretty sure that is the 991, not 1. Which yours truly is quite a fan of, so seeing the oldest Porsche 911 that ACC has to offer so far up the charts is doing really well.
That's a very interesting choice from Vincente and Wan Shi Lin, if they are both in the 991 spec of the car. From what I understand, based on conversations between Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, and obviously the real-world counterparts for what these are based on, the 991 still has a different rear suspension setup versus the 992. Although as to what the difference is, I could never say for certain. I'm not best educated on the matter. However, as we switch onto Nathaniel Paul in the Nissan GT-R, a car that's very good in the straight line with that twin-turboed V6 engine powering it all the way up to, in the road car, up to 200 miles an hour, but presumably limited via balance of performance here. As we find them going out of turn 10 onto the long third straight, as it were, before the little kink or curvone and turn 11. Before into the, again, very tight, decreasing radius almost, braking point for turn 13 and 14. God, I tell you what though, it's, as we found out last year, Jordan, we were racing against each other here. That section... Yeah, I mean, admittedly, we came to blows elsewhere on track. Oh, God.
Oh, exactly, this corner!
Of which, the exact corner that we find Zul Akihara at, the turn 8, almost hairpin of
I will give a point to the producer for that one.
Yes, so supposedly hinting it's a coincidence, but some of us are beginning to have doubts. However...
I find it more ironic that he switched to a Ferrari, the car I was driving into that corner at the same time.
Yeah, the memories are all coming back in the worst possible ways, but hopefully not affecting Zul Akihara as he currently sits third in the AM class, trying to find all the pace he can in that Ferrari 296. A car that, admittedly, I can drive, as we also see another member of the wider Techno family up in P2 at the minute with the similar car, but perhaps not the same setup, because setups are all about driver preferences.
What I've just talking to Kazuo Akihara just before the stream, I've learned that him and Ometo are running the same setup, so we
I
get
see.
so I think it's more down to the driver and experience for this round. As it's, to be fair, it could have changed since then, but from what I've been told, it's they're running the same setup.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things is that, fortunately, in GT3 cars, you do get a little bit of in-car adjustment for things like ABS, traction control, your brake bias, and sometimes, depending on the driver and their preferences and how they like to drive a car, as we ride on board with Gary Slater going through the little kink of turn 11 towards that ever so infamous sort of little technical section. Yeah. Through turn 14, just keeping it in the bounds. Out wide for the left-hander of 15, and towards the final corner, again, Gary Slater, someone else in another Ferrari. Ferrari's surprisingly popular, and it's been said by many to have a driving style similar to that of a prototype as well of its construction. But that keeping Gary Slater 5th overall, 15th in class in the Anfield. By no means a bad time. This is a very technical track.
I think you got mixed around there. He's 5th in class, 15th overall, but good to see a fellow Scottish driver doing so well.
Yeah. As we switch on board suddenly to Alex Curto, who's put himself on pole for the time being with a 1:33.602. Not too sure if he's up on his current time. Supposedly, still trying to find just that little bit more time in that Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Not quite, doesn't make quite as good a sound as the original, but still a very comfortable machine and competent car, as Alex is clearly proving here. As much as we don't see as much of it in real world racing, it's still a very good car.
I think it will be sad to see this car go as more sims hopefully get the newer evolution of this car. But I think it's still really good to see what the V8 Vantage original is still.
Yeah, there's a bit of a spook there between Curto and Slater there into turn 14. That very technical section between 12, 13 and 14, I love as a driver. As someone that's not really done a lot of driving around Misano, admittedly, so I don't know all the perfect spots that suit me and my driving style. But I know from my memory that little section there, very challenging, because it's decreasing radius, you're already turning to get through the kink of turn 12 and 13. So we switch on board to Alvin Wong, who hasn't yet currently put in a lap.
Yes. That's an invalid note.
Although someone else braving the AMG Mercedes car, challenging one car to drive by any means. Though
I will say it's very interesting to see people run the Merc here. You wouldn't think it's that strong, but seeing Isaac Umbris on 5th overall, it's really interesting to see, because I'm speaking to him recently in a VC. He was telling me that the Merc fits his driving style very well, because he feels like I'm not sure if it's his driving style, but I remember him telling me recently that he likes cars with big front ends, so something like the Merc actually fits him quite well, perhaps.
Indeed. I know a couple of times that he's mentioned how his comfort lies with the Mercedes, as been slowly keeping an eye on, as we switch back to Alvin Wong. Don't know if this time will count.
Or of a fire.
So we're going on board for a line lap with Alvin Wong with a bit of traffic ahead. Hopefully not too much of a hindrance as we go into the out of turn 3 towards the turn 4, 5, right, left section. Hopefully. Yeah. Oh, as the Acura peels off ahead onto the gravel to, I presume, finish off their lap and reset. onto the first of the, well, technically second of the long straights, out towards the turn 8. Sort of increasing radius hairpin almost. A little bit of a dip on the inside of the corner to help rotate the car. Out onto the exit wide. Then towards another technical braking zone of 9 and 10. Bringing the car round, just clipping the apex out onto the exit curb, just about keeping it within the lines. ACO rules, I believe, are that you have to keep at least 2 tyres on the tarmac before it's counted as a cut track through turn 11 into the technical brake zone of 12, 13 and 14, all over the curbing, trying to save as much time as they can whilst not unsteadying the car too much. Over to the right hand side to bring it back left, cutting over those sausage curves for turn 15 and into the final Misano corner, right, using a bit of the curb and on entry and exit, and bringing her over the finish line. See where Alvin puts the car in P5 with a 134.132, slotting himself just ahead of Isaac Umbras. So equal machinery with different drivers. We'll see whether there's any more to be found between these two, as well as the likes of Amet Ohm, who's also fairly close, and one Shilin that's roughly a tenth ahead in P4.
Just looking at it now, but the Mercs are all within like 3 tenths of each other, if you've just noticed.
Yeah, it's...
As where we just be telling, as just our producer has told us, Alvin Wong is currently up 4 tenths. He's just coming through Curva Tramonto. My apologies. I feel like we're gonna get slaughtered by the Italians for mispronouncing these corner names.
Of course, I am waiting for an angry message in our staff chat from our member of our Italian member of staff here, the Italian Jojo.
Starting to curve the Caro.
As they have the checkered flag falling, so this will be the final lap for the likes of Alvin Wong and any others who managed to get across the start-finish line before.
Curve Masano just to finish the lap. Where will this place him? I think P2.
Ooh, with P2, just 1.4 tenths. Sorry, 1.5 tenths off of Alex Curto, with a 33.745. Gary Slater here, also trying to finish off their lap. Will they have had any improvement, I wonder? 3 tenths up, but not quite any improvement. Staying P5 in class and P50 16 overall. Correction. Isaac Umbras here, also trying to make it around the final corner. Was about a tenth up and is just likely to go even on their best lap time and stays in P6. So close for Isaac Umbras.
I'll say to our producer who is producing this, that Mercedes looks absolutely phenomenal. That is such a good looking car.
Indeed it does. But now, with a couple of minutes to go, it's time to walk over the grid rundown for the start of today's race. So, we're by no means a surprise to me, at least. We have Alex Curto on pole on the right-hand side of the field. Your left, our right, as the drivers look towards the start-finish flag and turn 1. Followed by Sean KP, who is not currently on the grid. I'm not sure if that's a minor technical issue on our side. Alvin Wong, apologies. Then followed by Sean KP in the number 41 Ferrari. There you have the 64 of Vincente in 4th. Wan Shilin in 5th in the Porsche. I do believe we might be having some weird technical issues with the server, so apologies for the numbering here, as we did see a couple of drivers that did qualify further ahead. So, yeah, apologies for that. But anyway, what we can do is go with the numbers we have for now. So P5, Isaac Umbras in the 722 Mercedes for Techno Burst. P6 of Amet Ohm, also in Techno Burst. P7 we have Shooks in the 33 Mercedes. Pole for the AM class and P9th overall is the 55 Agoston Batter, apologies. Wait, I've missed Tina Curtis. I do apologise, Tina. In P8. P10 is Zul Akihara. Second in AM. Third in AM, 11th overall, is a 92 of Hutter. Nathaniel Paul in the Nissan GTR there in 12th. 13th is April Karsvard in the Queen's Design Hanan Formula 296. I do like how the Ferrari looks. The sole Acura on the grid, Zaid Sadi in 4th in class, 14th overall. The 52 of Gary Slater. The 26 of Hasri. J. Pole in the 91 Porsche. Zlatkis in the number 6 Lambo. And Adrian Dubrovka in the 66 Porsche. And rounding out the rear of the field, due to some weird technical reasons that I personally do not understand, is Alvin Wong in the 61 Mercedes, who did qualify, but I believe there must have been some technical issues on Alvin Wong's side, because we did see him, I believe, leave and rejoin. And one of our admins that is driving, Alex Curto, conveniently on pole for Alex, I suppose. Not that I'm suggesting such a thing. I would never.
I still find it so cool to see the 991 out-qualify the 992s. I think, in fact, this might actually be a first. There is, in fact, more 991s in this grid than there is 992s. There's two of them in the top 5, and I think Adrian Dubrovka is also running a 991.
The resurgence of the 991 is an interesting choice, although
there we go.
I suppose
there we go, 991.
From what I understand, that is, I guess the 991 has less front downforce as well as its differing suspension layout.
Generally, it's an older car, so a bit less downforce, but I'd say it's quite interesting to see there's not a 991.2. There's only 991s and 992s. So
I suppose it depends on licensing things, as is anything, like with any game using a licensed product, as these cars all are. But still, I'm glad to see that we've got quite a wide breadth of field, even if there are quite a few multiples of certain cars. Mercedes, I wouldn't expect to see at such a technical circuit here, but I do not understand its strengths myself.
Our producer could maybe tell us if there's any Lamborghinis. I feel like there'd be maybe
there was a single Lamborghini at the rear of the field.
So we have a Ferrari. We have both major Italian manufacturers who race in GT3 in the field, which is good to see. And I think in fact, the one thing I'm actually really surprised about, besides the 992s, is I don't think there's a single BMW M4.
There's no BMW. Damn, maybe I should have.
BMW on the grid, so it was an M6.
Indeed, as our field comes round the final corner now, at pacing speed, waiting for the green flag to fly, maintaining that 69, 70 kilometre an hour pacing speed, waiting for our race director to hit the green flag, and away we go. So a confident lead for Alex, although the two Porsches behind with a very good start, forcing Alex to go rather defensive early on, with three wide behind, resulting in one car off, still 3 wide into turn 2, as Alex is getting a clean breakaway from Sean KP, Vincente and Wan Shi Lin, respectively, into the 3, 4, 5 turns of the track onto the second big straight. Although technically speaking, this little curve here counts as turn 7 by the track diagram, towards the hairpin of turn 8, although not as severe as the other hairpins on the track. Everything in the top 5 seems to be mostly in order as we started, outside of the weird issues that we had with Alvin Wong. Zul Akihara there, as we switch between some of the cars further back in the AM class. Zul taking the lead in as it appears at the minute, followed by Bata and Sadi. Though, as it was pointed out earlier, there was a car off Not too sure which car that was. Hopefully we can go back and catch that one.
And their Mercedes at P1.
Yes, as we switch on board to the car, that was indeed off the track at the beginning.
Oh.
But as we see, April Carlsvard go really out of shape into the very technical section of 12, 13 and 14. Was that just a little bit too much curbing? Or was it just Ferrari just got the rear of the Ferrari just got loose on her?
Facts.
Oh, and very lucky of that car ahead of her to not get caught out in that.
Do you think that was a TC issue or something maybe with the brake bias?
I mean, I will admit, as the front of that Ferrari looks a little bit sore as our producer was sifting through the cars, I will admit I am not a biggest fan of the Ferrari 296. I will be riding a board with Sean KP in the other
PTSD of sorts.
Not the words I use per se, but it's not a car I've got a great deal of comfort in. It has a lot of issues with low-end understeer and a very spicy rear, but that is often attributed to a lot of mid-engine cars. It takes a certain type of driver to learn the nuances of how the car's behaviour is, but a lot of, like we'll see, as we have such a breadth of field between our competitors today, a lot of it will be driver choice. It's not all about, what is the fastest car, we'll take the fastest car. As we're riding on board with them at home, still close to the rear of Wan Shilin, not close enough to make any moves, but just enough to keep Wan Shilin honest. I'm at home, new to tracc.eu, but very capable as it appears already. Seen some of their other racing exploits as well, and they're very competent driver when they're, like with any of us, when their head is in the right space. Just going through turn 15, closing the gap a little bit on that Porsche of Wan Shilin ahead. Really closing up the gap on entry. But Porsche's just able to slightly edge out the 296 with its punch out of corners.
I'm just still amazed that there's two 991s. I know our producer keeps screaming, they want it Lash Hornets narrative, but as I was not present nor watching that race.
As we have two Ferrari versus Porsche battles here, we have Sean KP versus Albert Vincente. We see Wan Shilin and Ahmet Ohm also going side by side with one another. Quite some interesting battles starting already quite early on, but that is allowing Alex Curto in pole to run away as we switch to Albin Wong, who started at the rear of the field, possibly for technical reasons unknown to us, going very deep into the hairpin there, trying to get past the Porsche there, and does so with quite ease, although Tina not wanting to quite up, but knowing maybe this isn't the battle for her.
The good thing about the races we have is they're 1 hour long with a required pit stop. So the good thing is pit strategy always comes into play with these races. So you may be quicker in the first stint, but you never know. You might be a little sore in the second stint, or vice versa. You know? So
although with a track temp of 30 degrees, I'm wondering how some of these drivers that are pushing so hard early on are managing their tyres. As we still see come out of the final corner that Wan Shilin just ahead still of Ahmet Ohm there. Ahmet very good at getting the traction down, looking for a move up the inside, sticking her nose in, unsettling Wan Shilin there into turn 2. It's very, Ahmet Ohm's desperately looking to try and get past that Ferrari, that Porsche 991, as she goes round the outside but goes a bit too deep onto the gravel. Maybe a bit of ambition over adhesion there for Ahmet Ohm. Maybe too eager within the first 5 minutes of the race.
You see, Alvin Wong is just carving his way through the field. This is a guy on a mission.
Absolutely. Although seeing how Alvin Wong qualified, it's good to see, but I think the likes of Isaac Umbrus behind, as we see Isaac a little wide, allowing Tina to come right up close to that big German rear. Why did I say it like that? I do apologise.
Big German rear. I think it's a small
that's
rear.
That's gonna get misquoted. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, for that slightly off-colour comment. As we again still see Albert Vincente and Sean KP still battling, as Albert Vincente is currently victorious as we go into turn 15. perhaps caught Sean KP slightly off guard and allowing them to build a little bit of a gap. But that could also allow Wan Shilin, if they get the run out of this turn 16 corner, maybe to try and sneak a move past as well.
I will say it's very interesting to see Sion go from a BMW M6 of all things to a Ferrari 296. So showing that perhaps this at the moment, perhaps
Well,
it was a very
speaking
good
of,
move.
a little bit of touching there between Ahmet Ohm and Arvin Wong, but no harm, no foul, as we continue to see Arvin Wong carving through the field. Indeed, that is Tina taking advantage of the chaos from P2 down to P7 and just sneaking a pass in Isaac Umbrus. But Isaac is a fan of the long game. He is in no hurry to try and retake that position this early on, as we see Sean KP defending heavily between Wan Shilin and also the ever lurking white Mercedes, sponsored by, I believe, MSI on the side there of Alvin Wong. Yes, that is, I believe, Lucky the Dragon on the side of that car. I could be wrong. I'm just showing off. I'm a PC nerd now. I'm just showing off. I'm a PC nerd. As we've just been informed, there's another. Indeed, what happened here between Shooks and, I believe,
Sadi.
Zaid Sadi. So Shooks went up the inside but ended up going wide, and I believe the Acura there would not have been intentional, just got a little bit loose and unsteady and knocked the front of that Mercedes AMG 33 loose. However, as the rest of the field passes, at least I will say to Zadi's credit, he does wait and allow Shooks to retake the position, I believe, as we saw the end of the replay. As we switch back live now, it gets very, very chaotic here, but from P3 all the way to P6. Almost 3 wide into this technical section here. There's more contact between Sean KP and Ahmet Ohm there. A little bit of Technoburst team contact, I believe. Not ideal there. Just Ahmet slightly put off by Arvin Wong there, pushing his nose in, and Ahmet's just missing a braking point, just enough to put out Sean KP just off the track. By no means intentional, but this is the chaos that can happen in some of the tight racing in GT3. It's unfortunate to see, but that's racing. Goodness me.
Sion's off
again, perhaps the rear of that 296 not in the best condition, or fortunately we can't see why they were around.
What I'm suspecting is I think he may have rejoined the track, maybe wasn't the curb, the outside curb.
Perhaps.
From how the car is just placed on track, but
yeah.
I think our producer will not be liking this one at the moment.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I may have
today,
them, maybe.
Hopefully it isn't commentary cursing, just the ebbs and flows of racing, as we see Alvin Wong all over the rear of Wan Shilin in that 991 Mercedes. Technically a corner cut that doesn't, maybe a track limit violation there, but either way does not allow Alvin Wong to go for the move, although very smart trying to go for the over-unders. As we see another Porsche lurking behind of Tina Curtis, thinking, I'll have some of this.
Alvin is currently in a Porsche sandwich.
Indeed.
991 and 992.
Quite the battle of the Stuttgart drivers. In very loose there. A little bit of contact between them, but hopefully no real damage done. And that also allows Tina Curtis to sneak past Wan Shilin. God, this race is incredibly spicy. But that has, just because we've not paid any attention to our leader at the minute and our pole sitter, Alex Curto, allowed him to gain nearly a 10-second gap on the rest of the field. Vincente, although with all this battling between the likes of Vincente, Wong, Lin, Curtis, and maybe Umbrus, good lord, this top 5 of the top 6 has been incredibly challenging.
It's anyone's game to get on the podium with A1 in the top 6.
Absolutely, although I do feel bad for... Although I did see Ahmet Ohm has also dropped down now. She's now down to P11 out of the previous battle. Maybe hasn't yet taken...
Waiting for KP, perhaps?
Perhaps. So yes, unfortunately, the number 41 Technoburst 296 GT3 is in the pits. I believe that might be their mandatory service, taking it now whilst the car is heavily damaged, but with the extra damage time, one could maybe argue that unless Xiong can pull something out of a proverbial hat, that could be race done for Xiong today, depending on how soon they get lapped by Alex Curto, our pole sitter and current leader.
Already been left, but it doesn't really help Xiong's case. But Misano's got one of the longest pit lanes in ACC, so
Indeed.
we're gonna see one win in the 991. Oh, okay.
Thinking about the move, but not quite going for it on Tina Curtis. These two, I believe they're both in 991s. I could be mistaken.
No. What I'm seeing here is we're currently witnessing it's something you really don't see. A 991 versus a 992, and the 991 is really sticking to the back of the 992.
The old dog versus the proverbial old dog versus the new hotness.
You could say
Yuan Shilin trying to find a way.
Oh!
As Isaac gets incredibly loose there into that technical decreasing braking zone of turns 12 and 13. Not ideal, and not the first driver we've seen get loose there. Perhaps
that was like brake bias.
That must have been something. The car just getting slightly unsettled under braking there. Umbra's not going to be happy with how the car behaved. Although it was still a very tough fight there for P2 there between Arvin Wong just getting ahead for now of Vincente.
But just noticed with all this carnage, but Zo Akihara, the leader of M-Class, is now into P6 overall.
Indeed, which may not... Indeed. Allowing Zul to create a bit of a gap between himself and the next Porsche in M-Class, in P8 overall at the minute, the 55 Porsche of Bata. Apologies for not pronouncing everyone's full names today. On my side, I have a bit of a technical issue with timing, so I'm relying upon what you guys can see here, as well as some notes from my colleagues here in the booth. But, God, we're only 15 minutes in this race. Can we calm down a little bit?
I think
I'm running out of breath.
I think it's going to keep going, because Misano reads carnage.
I was going to say, I was planning to go for some fresh air after this, but I don't think I'm going to have the energy to go after
I think you might need more than fresh air. You might need an oxygen tank for after this one. Oh,
it's starting to feel that way.
I'll say it's still so nice to see 991s running this well, but 991 versus 992, and the 991's still there. It's still showing that old car still has a few...
There's a car on your left, still there.
Still there.
Apologies for the random quotations there, but...
Aussie Greg from iRacing has made an appearance in the booth.
Indeed.
There's a fellow 991 driver who drives this car in another tracc.eu championship. I just wish I was as good behind the wheel with this car. Seeing how well Lynn and Vincente are both going, how fast the 991 still is.
Indeed, it's, I guess, one of the bonuses of a car with lesser aeros, that on the straight line you can really take advantage. And with the Porsche's rear engine nature, should allow you, if you can nail your corner exit, to get a really good punch out the corner, as we see Nathaniel Paul there in the Nissan GTR just trying to fend off Amit Ohm after the earlier contacts between them as we switch. As we switch back again to a very feisty battle between Tina Curtis there and Vincente, as Tina just manages to hold it round the outside, 2 by 2. Correction, Wan Shi Lin, I've been corrected. Looking for a move, but not able to make the move pass into the final corner. But Porsche on Porsche, 991 versus 992.
Oh, look at the outside. Oh,
still side by side into turn 1. Still definitely even Lynn with a slightly early advantage, a little bit of unsteadiness. Was there a little bit side-by-side contact maybe, but could not tell for sure with our camera angle. Possibly just the car's getting loose, but Tina Curtis really defending hard in that 992 Porsche there. Perhaps the slight chassis changes and suspension setup changes between the two generations of car have been allowed her just to maintain the advantage for the time being. Wan Shilin not pressing the issue at the moment, potentially saving the run for the long straight that we have coming up, the long back straight.
That's where that car is stronger, as Kawhi mentioned. It's older cars have less arrow, so they are a bit quicker in the straights. However, the 992 is probably got a bit more arrow than in the corners, so I think it's quite an equally balanced matchup for these two cars.
Indeed, as we see... as we've just been informed by our producer, there was a little bit of a sudden slowdown from Alvaro Vincente. In the 64.991 there. Not too sure why that was. But all this time, all this battling, all this energy and fighting between our competitors, it's just allowed Alex Curto, our pole sitter and current leader, to run away. But we can't switch to Alex, unfortunately. Not that we do not want to give him credit where it's due, because there's still battling going on in the midst of the field here. Very feisty battling between a lot of our competitors here.
As we see Isaac Umbris has just entered the pits. Second car overall to pit. So I think he might be in a bit better place than Sion KP pit-wise. Oh, and Flaky's also in the pits. So two Technoburst cars are in the pits. I will say it's perhaps maybe a little early, but maybe the damage.
Yeah.
Maybe try doing a little bit of damage control. But Curtis is went a bit wide.
Indeed, although the joys of the Porsche having a lot of its weight over the rear end, as we see Wan Shilin looking for a move. The outside still there on the rear of Tina there. Just pulled backside of it at the last minute, although it doesn't quite give up the move. Looking inside, but not close enough to make the move. Cutting it really tight across the hairpin there. Such an interesting battle to watch here, because you wouldn't have thought there'd be a massive difference between the generations of chassis, but I suppose that Wan Shilin is using their experience to really take advantage of the 991 strengths, knowing that in the mid-high-speed corners where the aero reliance is heavier than mechanical, that just to save the energy for the punch out of the lower mid-speed mechanical corners.
I wonder if there's any engine difference.
A brief moment of concern there for Tina Curtis, but no real issues with the connection for the time being. Touch wood. You see Azul Akihara and Ahmet Ohm maybe just playing the team game there. Azul Akihara, no need to really battle with these cars. I believe that was Agoston Bata allowing the GTR by.
No, what he did was he tried to up the inside and outbraked himself. No contact, just outbraked himself.
Yeah, safer to take yourself off the track than involve others in an incident. It's certainly a mantra that I try and live by myself when I've been a bit more ambitious than I should be. As we see, again, Wan Shilin on the rear of that 992 Porsche of Tina Curtis, but not able quite to make a move. See, the one thing that, although these cars are still very similar, they're both rear engine, rear wheel drive. The fuel tank is still in the front. So as these cars burn their fuel, as we get towards their ideal pit stop of roughly 30 minutes on the clock, usually our drivers will try and split up the race into two 30-minute stints so they can minimize any considerable changes in the car as you go through the 30-minute stint. Wondering whether there'll be any more significant differences, because I know from when I last tried the Porsche 991 and 992, both in ACC and iRacing, is that The less fuel you have in that front end, the less grip that front end will have.
That's
it's
a
just
good
simple
point.
physics.
That's a good point to bring up. Is I wonder if one will be running longer than the other. Is I know from personal experience, I normally run a bit more fuel in the front.
As we see Wan Shilin try and stick his nose up the inside, try and take the corner tight as Tina tries to maintain the outside, and Wan Shilin gets the advantage for now.
That's a move. A 991 has just overtaken the 992 at Masana. What a move!
Indeed, although
History has just been made there.
Indeed, although I don't think Tina's given up quite so easily. Although I have just been keeping an eye on the times between our leader and now P2, previously at the start at the back of the grid, despite their qualifying attempt. Alvin Wong, the gap has dropped down to 7.5 seconds now, so maybe Alvin's starting to turn up the heat a little bit under Alex, and we'll see if anything's going to develop for the end of the race, because still a pit stop to go. Heaven forbid, touch wood, there are no blunders between anybody's pit stops, because this is racing, anything could happen. Always seems to happen to me, but that's besides the point.
Did you just knock your desk there? Because I've just
heard
it
did.
Over. Yes, I just
did.
heard
when I listen, the only thing that's ever made me superstitious is racing, and I hate it. And that's the only time I'll ever have that little hint of superstition.
I wasn't sure if that was in the booth or in my room.
No, it was authentic. It was authentic.
Tracc.eu bringing you the most authentic commentary experience known to the sim racing waves.
Goodness me.
A real immersion.
Again, Agustin Bassa looking for a move up the inside of the Nissan GTR, but still side by side, but not quite having the advantage as we go into the left, but still leaving a space. But I'm not sure if that was contact or just a little bit of exit curb that made Agustin get a little bit loose there.
I think
I wonder if we could get a different camera view. Potentially the onboard, was there a little bit of the tree just hit it, but I believe that was just a bit of the exit curb.
Mother Nature hindering our viewing experience.
A little bit of on corner oversteers. We see Marshall Souks and Zaid Sadi having a little bit of a piff, but nothing coming of it. Yeah.
I still find it very funny. But you say Acura because with IMSA, but I'm more used to saying the Honda. So.
Yes. Forgive me. Honda, Acura.
Is Kawhi is iRacing build, but I understand.
Yes. It's the same chassis. It's just a different badge engineering. Leave me alone.
It's just marketing. To be fair, it's not even badge.
Yes, there's a whole other topic we could have on another day, or plenty of other YouTube
videos.
Yeah, documentaries that explain the origins of Acura and Honda.
Which is not.
I'll leave it to those that are more educated than I. Oh, goodness. With our producer hinting that maybe a podcast we comment on documentaries. We see Wan Shilin and Tina Curtis just getting a little bit unsteady there. Perhaps my hunch with the fuel tank and the weight on the front end just coming to give the Porsche a bit of its natural disadvantage. By no means saying it's a bad car, just the nature of the beast.
I'll say the Porsche is kind of unbalanced when it's on lower fuel compared to something
as we see Tina sliding through the corner there. Very good, very good, very well done to her. Keep holding that slide through there. Maybe not good for lap time or tyre life, but credit where it's due, it means the car isn't in the wall. As we see Wan Shilin heading for their pit stop now. 34 minutes to go.
Do you think this might be an attempt at an undercut on Curtis?
Potentially. That would, I presume, one would be safe to presume that this is an attempt at the undercut between themselves and Tina. As we see, switch on board now to Alvin Wong, who's just been springing down that gap, now at 5.5 seconds between himself and Alex Curto there. Alex, last lap was the 34.5 versus Alvin Wong's, I believe, 33.8 last lap, with 32.8 fastest. Alvin is not letting this battle go. He wants to fight, get as close to Alex and fight at the very end.
I think
So,
we'll actually get to see Alex. Oh,
speak of the devil, Alex just goes through our shot here. Our pole sitter and leader for the time being, albeit with a diminishing gap in the black Aston Martin. I believe that really should have a Wild Things Racing livery, but I don't know anything about. That would be
Maybe
beyond my expertise. Maybe just a
issues.
minor. Yes, today just definitely seems to have a little hint of technical issues galore, both for ourselves in the production booth and also one or two of our drivers.
Let's be
Although
fair.
that's not stopping our. Again, I must say that it's not stopping our P2 driver Alvin Wong in that 61 Mercedes AMG. He started all the way at the back of the grid, and really bossed his way through. Like, this is recovery driver that perhaps he would not have wanted, would have preferred to have a battle with Alex on a fairer playing field, but in racing you do not always get what you want. Very rarely do you ever get what you want, so you have to work with what you have, be it a recovery drive, something I know myself all too well, or just trying to see and take advantage of your competitors' miscomings.
Perhaps it is the power of the dragon on the side of Alvin Wong's car, which is scaring
indeed.
his competitors.
Indeed, MSI's Lucky the Dragon, roaring, allowing Alvin, I do apologise, to power his way through the field. Listen, the names are similar, I get tongue-tied very easily. It's fine.
See, a modern car with another old car, the GTR. 2018 is when that car came out, same as the 991. So, I wonder, will the Japanese giant, well, not so giant nowadays, but versus the prancing horse of
Indeed.
Stuttgart.
It's certainly one of the largest GT3s out there. Similar in likes to the BMW M4 GT3, the Lexus RCF, which we rarely see nowadays, and I believe also a couple of other cars that I'm forgetting. Mercedes is very wide but rather low slung, despite its width. It's a very low slung car, having seen one in person. The M4, weirdly enough, is almost as high as the normal road car, which is rather interesting if you've ever seen one in person.
After hearing that comment about the Lexus, me and the producer just cried a little bit on the inside after hearing that.
I mean, credit where credit's due, I believe, in the real world World Endurance Championship 1812 of...
Was it the 78 car and the 87 car?
I'm not entirely sure, as we see Zul pit out of the lead of AM-Class to take their pit stop, allowing Anton Batter to take the lead for a brief time. 30-second mandatory tyre change, I believe, rather than fuel. But fuel, if you're doing a 30 seconds for tyres, you might as well do fuel. But they are still battling, one would argue, or at least I personally, if it were me in that position, would argue unnecessarily with Paul there in the GTR. But sometimes when you have drivers of a very similar pace, albeit in different classes, this is something that happens. To be fair, I think, harkening back to last year in V-Track, when you and I were racing together, Jordan, as we see more cars come into the pits now, on the offside, leader Alex Curto, Alvin Wong, as well as many others.
Honda, Porsche, Aston,
Jan
Mercedes,
Pol in the Manthey
Menfi
Porsche. With a slightly damaged rear on that Porsche. Most unusual. And the little bit of scuff on the front as well.
We see a 991 Porsche in the lead.
Indeed.
Holy moly. What scenes. This is proper biblical.
Absolutely.
As a 991 stan, I love this. This is so good.
Take it in, Jordan. Take it in. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy to your heart's content.
That's just amazing, you know?
Indeed. Hopefully, if this is an in-lap for Vincente, this does allow him to get the absolute best out of that Porsche 991 to give him an advantage and cut down the delta between himself and his competitor when he goes in for his pit stop. also allowing Amet Ohm to take P2 for the short time, as we see Alex Curto now rolling, shortly followed by Alvin Wong on pit exit. Also Tina Curtis and the Manthey Porsche there behind of, I forget, Jan Paul.
Like I said
Again.
before, the Wong pit lane of Misano is quite infuriating, especially if you're racing for position. You can see a car fly right by you.
It is certainly one of the longer pit lanes, but I personally do not believe it beats anything but the Spa Endurance pit lane. Specifically the Endurance pit lane.
That's pit lane through that.
Oh, goodness me. Although I will say it's terrifying if you do a bit of quote-unquote fuel banditry and you're having to roll up the hill and your car starts sputtering. Oh, as you see a drive-through for Hasri there in the 26296, I believe, of Technoburst. Perhaps speeding, I would assume speeding on pit entry there.
No,
following
that would be
the
stop-go. That's in fact track limit.
It would be for track limit violation.
Yeah.
Unfortunate to see, but stewarding and our stewards both in the real world and sim racing are very strict, primarily on safety grounds. Although with the traffic we see here at Alvin Wong, currently in P7, although 5 of the 7 cars ahead have not pitted. Conveniently there, the Porsche does pit ahead. Mercedes, AMG, forgive me, I swear, I need a new brain for this.
All the German manufacturers, besides BMW, are wanting your head now for misrepresenting them.
I'm a little bit Bavarian coded. I do apologize. It's not intentional. I will admit my folly.
Any language which is not BMW. Over the M4, I've been driving that recently. That's an RS. That's a fun car to drive.
It's
991 in it. West of the German
Alvaro Vincente with a very hot and spicy pit entry there, narrowly avoiding the wall and just about bringing it down to 50 kilometers an hour. Although I've just seen
shooting in pit lane.
30 seconds stop and go for Amet Ohm there. That's going to be a kick in the nether regions for Amet there. Again, someone who's very confident and very fast in a car given the right circumstances, but with the earlier issue there with a little bit of braking wide on corner exit here, as we see, perhaps Amet is just perhaps overdriving a little bit, and it's something I myself have been guilty of.
I think everyone's been guilty of that at times.
Absolutely. It's a human thing. We want to push. We want to get the best out of the car and ourselves as we can, but as you get closer to that limit, they say push it to the limit, but sometimes it's very easy to go beyond and just ask a little bit too much of either yourself, the car, or both combined. So, not that this is any way a slagging match before anybody says anything. It's just, as a fellow driver and sim racer, it's looking at how our drivers are conducting themselves on the track, and I'm thinking, oh, it's just a little bit sore for them. It's empathy, because we've definitely been there. As we see Vincente rolling down the pit lane on pit exit there, potentially 4th behind Alvin Wong. We'll just have to wait for our timing screens to update.
Round 2, ding, ding, ding.
Indeed. Indeed,
there. Racing versus Tina Curtis battle.
Yeah. Indeed, as our producer just letting us know that Wan Shilin's undercut did indeed work against Tina Curtis with a roughly, I believe if my maths is correct, that's roughly a 5-second delta between himself and Tina Curtis. Indeed, although, again, this part of the race after the pit cycle could be very important to see how strategies play out. Although, despite the efforts of Alvin Wong against Alex Curto, the delta is currently looking at now 12 seconds between our leader and P2 qualifier. I should say qualifier, due to the weird technical issue which deprived them of that P2. Although I hope for Amet's sake that she does remember to serve that stop go 30 before the 3-lap time limit runs out. Because in racing, both virtual and the real world, you get 3 laps to serve your penalty when assigned, or you do get disqualified for failing to listen to the race director's instructions. And as someone that has been a race director in other series, race directors do not like getting ignored. And not that I wish to, I never would ever wish ill upon anybody, but rules are there for a reason, primarily safety. Although, as we ride on board with Zul Akihara, currently P2 in AMS, 9th overall, although the leader of AM at the moment, Zlatkus, has not yet pitted in their Lamborghini Gallardo.
That's Huracan.
Huracan. Forgive me, I'm too used to the old Lamborghinis.
That's that might be an Evo. I think it's an Evo 2, yes, because you can see by the roof scoop at the top. If you're talking about Gallardos, that's the writer,
Indeed.
Engineering REX, which I drive in V-Track. That's a Gallardo. But
I still question how you drive that car comfortably, but
you want to know how I drive that car? Like, genuine? Like, I'll say it so people can hear it. Oh.
As we switch on board to Arvin Wong, the Delta's still coming down between himself and Alex Curto, but with their fastest lap being apologies for the hold here, a 1 minute 33.267. Alvin is not letting this battle die down. He is giving it everything he's got. But as we unfortunately, yeah, Amet Ohm has now been disqualified. I'm not sure if that was due to serving the penalty or speeding again in pit lane. That's really unfortunate from Amet Ohm.
See, John Paul's also in the pits again. I don't know why. What's up with that?
Yeah, what happened to Jan Paul in the 9.9 in the Manthey Porsche there? I do like the livery of the Manthey. She's serving it, so perhaps.
But no, it still says DSQ. That's. In fact, I think I know why it's DSQ, because it's her pit box is after the start finish line.
That would be potentially why. That's something that.
I'm pretty sure. I think something like that happened in F1 in like the 90s with Schumacher?
Yes, Schumacher indeed. Yes, there was this thing in the 90s with Schumacher who received a penalty, did not serve it until the white flag in the final lap, per se. Forgive me, again, I'm too used to driving an IMSA-style series with that similar rule set. As we see Marcel Schux there battling with Gary Slater. A little bit wide on exit there. But that green and gold with black stripe Mercedes AMG. I do like the metallic paint on that, I will be honest.
Oh, look at that.
As we Indeed. As we see the 91 there pop up with a penalty as well there.
That's another speeding in pit lane. Stop the 30.
That's unfortunate for Jan Paul there.
Rule of thumb for non-live shooted events in ACC is if it's a stop, go 30, it's speeding in pit lane. But if it's a drive through, it's track limits.
Yeah.
The more you know.
As we see Zul Akihara make their way past Anton Bass there, potentially a little battle forming. Oh, forgive me, that was not. Oh, that is Bassett. I'm having a senior moment today. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen.
Senior moment. What a thing to say on the broadcast. I'm having a senior moment.
Indeed, I may only
the first I've ever heard that in a broadcast.
Well, you can. I swear, ever since I've joined tracc.eu for media, you might as well start up a bingo sheet for me with some of the weird stuff I come out with. As you see, Zul, I don't know, just a fine corner. I think it might have just been the camera angle that made it look to me as if he was off track, but he was not.
This is the battle for the AM class.
Indeed, the AM class lead here between the 992 there of Agoston Bata from Evis Racing versus the 296 Techno Burst.
I'm quietly laughing to myself as I'm starting to hear you struggle of try and figure out which generation of Porsche is which now.
Yes.
But,
Indeed, I'm having to rack my brain a little bit today.
The bit more squared off look at the 992 is this
Indeed.
one.
As Agoston gets a very good exit, initial exit out of the corner, trying for the over-under there, but just holds Zul just holds him wide. But as we see an interesting rejoin there from Sean KP, who was caught up early on with a damaged car. What happened there was that just a spin by the looks of it, but an awkward place for a rejoin just as a battle's coming up.
That doesn't really help Sion's case. That was his teammate.
No, definitely not. Not when they're fighting for the lead of the class. It's unfortunate timing, perhaps, because I very much doubt that any of that would ever be intentional from anybody in a team. But there's still chance for Zul maybe to find advantage over Agoston Batter, but we'll have to see if the 296 behaves itself in Zul's hands. I only say that from my own experience with the 296. I found the car very snappy on the rear and hard to consistently trust in the mid-high speed corners where the downforce starts to bleed off. But again, personal preference, as our drivers are all showing here with the breadth of cars we have in our field. Some of them very popular, some of them less so. Although I still think we need a BMW on the field, but that's just me being Bavarian coded.
I would no, I would agree. It is very weird. I think this is the first race I ever saw in probably all my years of watching racing. It was a GT3 race without a BMW, M6 or M4. This feels weird, you know. I don't know. It just feels weird. We see old and new generations Porsche, but we don't see a single M4. That's a head scratcher.
It is a bit of a head scratcher indeed.
Mr. Julian Strasser, who is pro anti-BMW, might be liking this. If he's
potentially.
Watching.
But again, as with any of the drivers and their car choice today, it's all about driver preference. As Agoston Batter very loose over the sausage curbs on the exit of there. Luckily that they kept the car under control because that looks rather spicy. But again, just maintaining the delta between himself and Zul for the time being. However, as we come up with roughly 16 minutes to go in the race, a quick rundown of events, I believe, is in order as we switch on board to our pole sitter and current leader, Alex Curto, leading the race since the drop of the green flag, with roughly a 6 to 7 second delta between himself and P2 of Alvin Wong. Wong, who started from the back of the grid due to some weird technical issue, but by no means letting that stop them from trying to chase down our pole sitter today. And Alvin did qualify in P2 before the bit of the weird technical issue. Behind that, there is Wan Shilin in the number 30 Porsche 991 there, and with roughly 8 seconds off, I believe, followed by their compatriot and a teammate in the number 64 in the Wall Racing 991 car there. Very fetching blue, black with red striped livery there on the 991 Porsche.
64.
Then we have the 46 there of Tina Curtis in one of the 992s, P5 overall. Fairly good, quiet race for her, and then followed by Isaac Umbrus for Technoburst USA in 722 Mercedes AMG GT3. Caught himself out a bit earlier on with the spin into the technical section of the track, third and final sector, but a good recovery drive nonetheless. Then we go on to our Amfield, our current leader of the Amfield, 7th overall. We have Agoston Batter from Evis Racing. Just managed to sneak past Azul Akihara in P2 in AM, P8 overall, and currently building a very good delta between the two drivers there. Zul for Technoburst Racing, I forget which of the many sub-teams within
This is
Technoburst.
the main team, the manufacturer team, if you will. The second team, apparently. But
just been
the
informed
team
by the
principal
producer
of
slash...
Technoburst is telling us.
Indeed, I've just been updated by our producer that Zul is technically in the second team, but P2 in AM is nothing to shake a stick at, proverbially speaking. Very good run by him here by Zul Akihara. There was leading at the AM class for the longest time, followed by P9 overall, Nathaniel Paul in the Seoul Nissan GTR there.
Really
just
strong
maintaining
driver.
Strong driver in a fairly strong car, and then we go down to 10th overall, rounding out our top 10 with 3rd in AM class, Eric Hutter for Mantai Racing Bagu there, in a very fetching dark green and black livery. That is a dark metallic green, one I can abide. Although just behind them, P11, we have the number 33 AMG Mercedes there. It was a little bit loose on exit of Marcel Schux, also from Evis Racing. Maybe not the race they would have wanted today, but still a very good drive nonetheless. Mercedes AMG, a little bit of a flash there to Eric, but a bit of miscommunication maybe. Pro trying to overtake an AM, although they are for oval positions, so I believe blue flag should be advisory, but that just for overall track position, although perhaps a battle some could argue not worth fighting.
I think the blue flag is for behind is Alvin Wong.
There's the reason for our blue flag. Our P2 driver, Alvin Wong, just coming to close, still trying to close down the gap on our pole sitter. But back to the rest of our field. 12th overall now and 4th in class, we have Gary Slater in the 52. Forgive me, the resolution's a bit poor on my side. 52 Ferrari 296 there. Followed by Zaid Sadi in the Honda NSX, the number 8, as I was corrected earlier. Followed by
Honda, same thing anyways.
Yeah, followed by Adrian Dubrovka there in the 66 Porsche 992? 991?
I was I
give up.
I had faith.
I give up with the
He's
Porsche.
Gonna say it right. He's gonna say it right.
So close but no cigar. Then followed by April Carlsvard, P15 in the 621 Queen's Design Pan and Formula Ferrari 296. Not an ideal race for her, but still battling on. Then the Seoul Lamborghini on the field from Zlatkus. Apologies, I'm not really bad with names today. And the number 6 Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, I believe.
Yes, that one.
Then P17, we have Technoburst Grip Runner Patera Daniel Hasri in the number 26 296 GT3. Then we have Sean KP, previously fighting amongst the top 5, but caught out quite heavily by their teammate, unfortunately, and rolling around in P18, not the race they would have wanted today. P19, we have Jan Pol for Mantai Bagu Racing, slowing down an awkward spot on the track. Perhaps maybe a bit of... Indeed. And then I believe, is that everybody? Are we missing P20 and P21? Because I know that we had Amet Ohm was P20 who was disqualified for failing to serve a penalty, unfortunately. Much disappointment. And I do not really... I swear we're missing a driver off the field, but timing screens are not our friend at the moment.
I would say the driver has made up the most positions, what I've saw so far, besides Alvin Wong, is I think Adrian Dubrovka, who was starting last. He's up to P14 at the moment.
That's a pretty good run by Adrian. Probably ballsy to try and drive the Porsche like so many others today, the 991.
Do you know what generation of Porsche he's driving?
I looked again at the nose and it was the 991.
Yes, he's learning, Chet. He's learning.
I'm slowly learning. It will take time. Yeah.
This is what happens when you have someone who's for one sole manufacturer trying to figure out the different generations for different cars.
Yes. Well, it's not. It's rather unusual to have different generations of a car racing in the same event. Usually, there are exceptions that apply in the real world. Also, excuse me, sim racing, but it's not usual. But as we roll now between Alex Curto and Alvin Wong. The gap now down to roughly 4.3 seconds as we close in the last 8 minutes of the race. Alvin's last lap with a 33.667 versus Curto's 34.8. I'm wondering whether Alex is still just biding his time and just saving his energy for the final couple laps, or whether that is all he's been able to extract out of that Aston Martin, because Alvin Wong in that Mercedes AMG has seemingly not put a foot wrong. But as we see Alvin Wong come over this finish line to do a 33.96 versus Curto's 34.702. As we see Zaid Sadi
got a drive for a track limits.
Indeed. Yes, stewards will always be strict over track limit violations.
Oh, we see Mr. Julian Strasser in the chats.
Indeed, yes. Unfortunately for Alvin Wong, there is a weird kind of technical hiccup at the start of the race. So despite Alvin Wong qualifying second behind Alex Curto, Alvin had to start from the rear of the grid, but has had incredible drive. One heck of a recovery drive so far. Pray that it stays that way, not to wish misfortune upon anybody, but perhaps not the race that, definitely not the race that Alvin would have wanted, but you have to deal with the cards you're dealt with.
Maybe it was a strategical call to start from the West. Maybe he feels like he has the confidence and the pace to carve his way through the field and maybe win. Maybe that was, in fact, planned all along. Perhaps that's an unknown quantity.
It is an unknown quantity, and one that perhaps we will have to try and ask Alvin after the event. 7 minutes to go, though. Roughly another 4 or 5 laps if my head math is even remotely reliable.
Head math.
Yes, we'll have to see. Yes, as the gap is still coming down 3.5 seconds, just under. As we see Alvin Wong now with roughly 7/10 faster than Alex per lap. Perhaps Alex is just playing the long game and praying that Alvin cannot catch up in time, because with a few laps left, catching is one thing and passing is another. You may be able to catch your competitor, but Alex is a veteran to sim racing across a variety of sim racing games, so he knows how to make that Aston Martin V8 Vantage very wide when he has to. Not that it needs any help being wide, but it is an Aston.
I mean, maybe that actually might help, as Masato can be a tight track for defending.
Indeed.
Always worse than having a wide car if you're defending.
Absolutely.
If you're trying to overtake on a tight track, yeah, it's bad. But if you're defending, it works a little bit more in your favor. Like driving the M6, which is quite a wide car, wide and long car. So yeah,
indeed, but we'll have to see as the laps tick down. As we come towards the final corner again now with 5 minutes, roughly 5 minutes 20 remaining. Gap is now down to 3 seconds, so I had a hunch that this battle just at or around, maybe just under 3 seconds now. The gap is definitely coming down. A 33.8 versus a 34.6, so again, significant pace delta between the two. Seeing when will this battle form on the last lap, or will Alex just be able to stay ahead long enough? But then again, for the likes of Alex and other cars, there's a single piece of traffic up ahead, but there are also other cars in the near distance. So we'll have to see if traffic plays any part of this, because that's always going to be a part of racing, especially in a multi-skilled field.
Maybe the GTR, but Suburban lapped, might have a little bit of a buffer zone, because I think it's a little faster than the Merc and the Aston on the straight. But coming to this complex section here of the corners, National goes back up.
Yeah, that technical third sector catching out of quite a few drivers earlier in the race today. It's a section I love because it really puts the car on edge, and once you get used to doing it, it feels good to do it right, but we'll have to wait and see if anything happens here. So the Nissan GTR pulling out of the way of the pole sitter there, the current leader. A little bit tight as Alex goes to take the ideal line through the turn 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, the gap now down to just under 2 seconds. So Alvin is almost like a shark in the water. He can smell the blood. Almost predator hunting for their proverbial prey. But with 3 minutes 15 on the clock, what will happen first? Will Alvin catch, or will the time run out? To see when. Indeed. Yes. And based off some quick maths by a producer, we're looking at roughly 2 laps. Not sure if that's inclusive of the one we're on or on top of.
Just being informed that it will be 3 laps, including this one.
Yeah. Gap now down to just under a second, so...
It's going to be the battle for the
Indeed.
lead. We can actually finally get to see Alex Curto on screen.
Yes,
on
indeed. The Alex leading a quiet race for the most part, just minding his own business and keeping things clean at the lead.
19-second gap to P2 and 3. Dear
Goodness me, that's a hell of a drive from the pair of them. Alvin having to fight through the field and multiple pit stop to get even this close to Alex with roughly 2 minutes to go. So we'll have to see how this plays out. The rest of the field looking fairly spaced out and no real excitement to speak of. I could be wrong. Something could happen. I pray that nothing unfortunate does. But riding on board with the rear of that Aston Martin V8 Vantage as Alex doesn't quite get in the exit he wants versus the Mercedes. They're getting quite a good exit. Alex going defensive early, but one going for the over-under there. Forcing his nose inside Alex Curto, pushing out Alex wide, but they're still side by side on the exit of the corner. Alex slightly ahead as we go into the next hairpin. Alvin, though, very skilled at making that Mercedes move quickly when it needs to. Change of direction. For the time being, Alex still ahead there, but Alvin with just enough straight line speed just to keep his nose there, just to off-put Alex as we go into arguably the most technical section of the corner, through the little kink, a little bit of braking into the first of the right-handers, into the second and third, towards the hairpin. To really see the difference between the drivers and the cars there, just doing enough to keep the gap at a consistent level. But this is going to be one interesting fight to the end of the checkered flag, as we in theory should get, we do indeed from race control get the final lap one reminder. So this is the last chance as Alex goes very deep into turn 1 and turn 2, costing a lot of time on exit, allowing Alvin Wong just to close up the gap again and look for a potential move. Again, going for a very spicy over-under, sticking that very wide Mercedes nose in, maybe a little bit of contact in the corner as they go side by side through 3, 4 and 5 with a switchback on exit from Alvin Wong. Oh, this is some good racing. This is the stuff you like to see. Side by side there, squeezing each other wide, a little bit of dooring contact between them, but hopefully none the worse off. Alex all over the rear of that Mercedes AMG though on the exit though, so Alex is not going to let this one go lying down. Alex tries to go very deep under braking, almost into the rear there of Alvin Wong.
I wonder, will the Aston have a bit of straight line speed advantage? Maybe not.
I mean, in the slipstream, potentially how close they are to one another. It depends who's feeling the most adventurous and aggressive under braking. Alex not quite close enough to make the move, so I think maybe Alvin might have timed that just the right time, right on the rear, almost touching again for Alex Curto there into the hairpin. But in a very spicy late stage battle, very well executed from Alvin Wong. We come towards the checkered flag across with the literal last to first challenge. Alvin Wong is your Track GT3 Misano winner today.
Last to first.
The literal last to first challenge, intentional or otherwise. Very solid driving, and still a good drive from Alex Curto in the end there.
You feel, I kind of have to feel a bit for Alex, though, like leading the whole race just for the last 2 laps just to get overtaken, you know?
Yeah, but sometimes I'd say it's easier to be the one chasing than being the one chased.
Yeah,
I know.
100%.
So Alvin had a clear target to focus on, being Alex, whereas Alex had to try and play the strategy to his game. As we see other drivers the likes of Wan Shilin in 3rd, Vincente in 4th, Curtis in 5th. Umbrus now should be rounding out the top 6 here in the Technoburst USA AMG GT3. As we switch on board now to our AM class leader.
That'll be Augustin Bata winning your AM class. I wonder what happened to Zo Akihara. Is it a 15-second gap? What's happened there?
Maybe, yeah, a bit unexpected from potentially. Seemed to have not had the pace in the second half of the race from Zul Akihara, but P2 by no means a bad finish. And as the other cars came across the line, we had P9, we had Paul in the GTR, Schux in P10 overall, and Hutter for the 92 Porsche to round out the podium for our AM class today. That is everyone finished today. The only unfortunate disqualification being Ahmet Ohm for not serving an earlier penalty. But goodness me, that was a race and a half.
I think Alex Curlo has just put in the Discord the best way to describe the race. Just full caps water race.
Indeed, that. I'd have to agree. The start of the first 15-20 minutes of the race was an absolute battlefield and a half, allowing Alex to escape whilst Alvin had to sort of dig his way back through the field. But at the end, he did just what he needed to do and just caught Alex at the right time. Made just the right move as well. Oh, that was a tiring one to watch, let alone drive. I can only feel for our drivers. But that was incredible.
This makes me want to do some GT3 racing. Not in Misano. I don't like Misano. Anywhere else, maybe.
Don't forget though, Jordan, you do have V-Track next week.
I do, but sometimes the appetite needs to be filled a little sooner.
Yes, indeed, I do understand that one.
To the producer, no. Respectfully.
Yeah, so respectfully, our producer just suggested Nürburgring, although I'm not sure if that was the GP loop or the Nordschleife itself in the writer.
I think it was the GP, because I think it did probably said
See, I'm more of a fan of the Schleifer myself, but I am unusual, to put it politely. But honestly,
try that in the writer. Oh no.
I'm ambitious, but not that ambitious. But no, I think for me, I thought that was a brilliant race to watch today. A couple of unfortunate moments for some of our drivers, but overall, like those that kept it clean, it was a very, very tight race between a lot of our competitors today. And hell of a drive from the likes of Alvin Wong and some of the others out there. We'd have to manually go through the entire replay, but fortunately we haven't quite got time to sit and do that just now. Hopefully we can get a highlight reel out at some point in our off-season. But any further thoughts, Jordan? Aside from wanting to take track yourself?
I'm just in awe. That's so many different kind of cars just doing so well at a track which is quite technical. It is a small track. It is a quick lap, but it is a very technical lap. But I will say respectfully, if I had to lose any Italian track, I think it would be Misano. All I'm saying is ACC2, give us Magellan instead. I know a certain Julian Strasser would agree with me with that one. Yeah, it's a really good race. fun race to commentate as well. Back in commentary booth for me for God knows how long.
Indeed, I thought it was just a brilliant race to watch, and I hope that those of you watching today found it exhilarating as well. But that is all for us today. So next week we will have the next round of our VTuber Championship, VTrack. I believe they are at. Bear with me a moment. I am never
Nürburgring
organised.
GP.
Nürburgring GP.
Enough,
That explains.
There is 3 VTubers in this commentary booth. One is producer, one is quote unquote getting retired, and one is Kawhi, how would you describe yourself? Ex
Yeah.
VTrack driver. but
Yeah.
But
Maybe not.
Nürburgring GP, that's gonna be a fun race. It's gonna be terrifying for me.
It's going to be an interesting one for sure. I shall be back in the commentary booth for that one. But for our GT3 Cup, yeah. But for our GT3 Cup, our next round in 2 weeks' time will be the season finale at the South African T-Prix at Kyalami, another track with quite a reputation to itself. Lots of technical corners combined with some very spicy curbs for our season finale on March the 15th. But for now, that'll be all from us. Appreciate you, everyone that came and watched and enjoyed the action today, and we'll see you next time on the racetrack. Bye-bye for now.